I'm starting with a prepped 20-ounce modern curved tumbler from Craft Haven. I'm going to add glitter with the epoxy method. I use CCDIY Epoxy, and I have mixed 1 milliliter each of part A and part B. I will mix until the epoxy goes from cloudy to clear. And make sure when you're using epoxy, you use proper PPE. Once the epoxy is fully mixed, you'll want to pour it out onto the tumbler. There's no particular rhyme or reason here, just get it onto the tumbler. Then with your gloved hand, rub the epoxy all over the tumbler. You want a very thin, even layer, and this 2 milliliters should be perfect. You will want to adjust the amount if you're using a smaller or larger cup. If you're having trouble spreading, heat your tumbler for just a few moments. It'll help the spread of the epoxy. Once you have the epoxy evenly spread over the tumbler, you'll want to let it set for just a moment to level out. Then you can add glitter. The glitter I'm using is from Backcountry Glitter, and I'm using Vanilla Cream, the white, and New Year's will be the gold. I always do the bottom of my tumbler first so I don't forget it. Be sure that you get good coverage on the bottom of your tumbler. For this particular low ombre design, I want a really good coverage of vanilla cream on the bottom and about the first inch up the tumbler. Normally I would use the darker color first and then the lighter color, but for this particular ombre, I wanted to get the vanilla cream on first so that I knew about where the gold would go. And with these two colors, it didn't really matter. They blended really well. Then right here, I'm raising my packet up so that I can get a lighter coverage around where the two colors meet, which will give you the ombre effect. I'm just tapping off the excess glitter. Here I'm going to go in with New Year's. It's a really pretty gold color, and it goes with this white very well. Now with New Year's, I want to be sure and get a really good full coverage, at least halfway down the cup before I raise it to do the ombre part. Now here I am getting closer towards the middle of the cup, so I'm going to raise my shaker higher and tap it very lightly. And this allows just a dusting of that glitter to come out, and it mixes with the white. And so where there's not any white glitter, the gold will stick, and that's how you get your ombre effect when the two colors intermingle together. Again, you could always tilt your cup at about a 45-degree angle and get the same type of effect. Once you have the glitter the way that you like it, put it on a turner or a drying rack to let it dry. I let this dry for about 12 hours. Once this cup was dry, the next step is adding the spots. I personally prefer to do the inside part of the spot first and then the outside, but it's a total preference. Here you'll see me using a small paintbrush and some Mod Podge, and I'm just pouncing it on. I'm not painting it on, and I'm doing the inside spots. I like to do 2 to 3 spots, and then I will dump on the glitter to those spots. You don't want to do too many at a time because you'll risk the Mod Podge drying before you can get the glitter on. For the inside spots that I'm doing now, I'm going to be using chocolate diamonds for the brown glitter. And again, I'm pouncing the Mod Podge on instead of painting it on. And this allows for the paintbrush to make more natural looking spots. You don't want it to look pattern. You don't want it to look like you're making a pattern. You want it to look very natural, because leopard spots are not in a specific pattern. They're very natural looking, very random looking. So here I've dumped on chocolate diamonds to those spots. You can now see them. They stick out from the gold. And then after I do these 3 spots, I'll just repeat those steps all the way around the cup. As you can see here, we're just going to speed that up so you don't have to watch all of it in slow motion. We're going to get all the spots on. I tend to do larger spots first. And then once I have those larger spots on, I'll go back in and do some smaller spots. Now that we have these larger spots done, I'm going to use another small paintbrush, and we're just going to pounce on more Mod Podge to do the outside of the spots. And again, we're pouncing on the Mod Podge instead of painting it on so that it looks more natural. And for the outside or outline of these spots, I do tend to like to do 2 to 3 sides of each spot, just so that it looks more natural. And I also like to rotate where the spot opens. You don't want all of your spots opening in the same direction, because that'll give it more of a pattern feel. Again, you want to try to make this look as natural as possible. I will do 2 to 3 spots just like before, and then I'll dump on the glitter. For the outline of these spots, we're going to be using a black glitter. I'm sorry for being a little bit out of frame here. I have a different camera angle now, and it was the first video with this camera angle, so I am a little bit out of frame. I apologize for that. Once you have that on, the Mod Podge on where you like it, you're going to add your black glitter. And for the black glitter, we are using Twilight, and this is also going to be from Backcountry Glitter. You can definitely take your time doing this. You just don't want to do more than 2 or 3 spots at a time. And I'm going to dump that off and tap it with the paintbrush just to get the excess off. I didn't seal the gold or the white before starting in with the spots. I just let it dry for about 12 hours. We're going to go ahead and do the rest of the spots all the way around the cup. Once I have those first spots done, I am going to go in and make some smaller spots. This gives you an idea of, or doing the other spots first, gives you an idea of where you could have smaller ones, and so that it doesn't look too crowded. Sometimes it's hard to judge where you want all of your spots. If you do all of the inside spots first, all of them, it may end up too crowded. So I tend to do some larger ones first, completely do those, the brown and the black, and then I'll go in and do some smaller ones. And that kind of helps me figure out where I want to put them. You'll notice too here in just a moment that I will go in and add some black only spots. This just gives it a little more of a randomness, a more natural look to just have some solid color spots. Then once you like your spots, just let the Mod Podge dry. Usually I'll leave it drying for, 4 or 5 hours. And then I will clear seal with Rust-Oleum 2X Clear a couple of times, because you want to make sure that none of that glitter moves. You don't want any of the darker colors going down into the white. And then I will let the seal dry and then do a couple layers of epoxy. and I let that dry 8 to 12 hours between layers. I'll sand it, and then we're going to put the decal on. I use the wet method for the decal, which is water and a tad bit of soap. I'll spray the cup and the back of the decal. What this does is it allows a wet barrier between the cup and the decal, and you can move it into place. I like to use this if I'm going to be using a long name. Names tend to, when you're putting them on without using the wet method, they tend to move around on you or not look straight. So I tend to use this wet method when I'm trying to apply longer names. We're just going to pull that transfer tape off, leaving the name only, and then add a couple more layers of epoxy, and this is your finished product. I hope you enjoyed it.